Oh man, internet, are you giving us the seal of approval? Are you? It's like 1 minute before who's going to be first. So far no one's first. And I know that there's a lull. I got to wait till I see it. I know there's the YouTube. YouTube said hello. Rockfin, what's up? Oh, there's Rockfin. YouTube won today. It's not a competition. But Twitter is always first. Twitter is always first. And YouTube is YouTube and Rockfin. It's a competition between them, really. And whichever one wakes up first. And of course, there's a lull. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. My guest today, out east. Good morning to my fellow West Coasters. It's been a morning for me, by the way. We're gonna talk about it. I've been on the go for a little bit. I've already been out of the apartment. That's not normal for me. And good evening to everyone in an evening time zone, wherever that may be. And to everyone in the future, Australia, New Zealand, you're a day ahead. You have an extra day of science. Fix climate change for the rest of us. Shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. Our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to get all of the articles and streams and videos from all the content creators you know and love. They compile it, they curate it, and they give you a list that they update twice a day. They do the sifting for you, and then they just present it. Like it's just a beautiful plate of progressive news and perspectives and information to that you can just digest and then go, man, I hope we're okay. But anyway, it's important regardless. And to check out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord community, go to independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. Shout out to our friends at CT.com, ZHITEA.com. Show them some love. Get some tea. You can get it wholesale out because of the pandemic. And the Ron tea is coming. We're going to have some news very soon. I haven't tasted it yet. I've been looking at some of the artwork. But we're going to have a Ron tea real soon. It's going to have the caffeine of a cup of coffee, but the refreshing taste and texture of tea. Oh, science, baby. Anyway, without further ado, let me bring in my guest today. She's a regular. You know her and you love her. It's that time of the month. Please welcome back to the show, Savage Joy. What's up, Joy?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
I hope you had a lovely vacation. We talked a little bit about it briefly off mic. We'll mention it on. You were in Ocean City causing trouble.
I was. I had my birthday bitch crown on. I turned 42,
Happy
which is,
belated.
thank you. And I know I look half that, but I am 42. It was fun. I had drinks. I'm not a drinker. I never drink, but I had one each day.
What'd you have?
I don't know what it was, some concoction of coconut and curacao and rum, and it was like a frou-frou. That's what I go for.
Hey, that sounds very summer appropriate.
Yeah.
It's summertime. That's awesome. I was actually just at the beach. I woke up early today, like really early. Like I woke up like 6 something because I had to do a taping at 7 a.m. my time. So I figured, well, after it's done, I should go exercise and then do Get Your News On with Ron. I feel weird. I feel like the day is almost over. You know what I mean? But it's still just beginning. Like I feel like I'm kind of in a weird time warp of sorts. Like I feel like I was just like, oh, and I saw other people in my apartment complex and I got the vibe. I'm like, they do this every day. I'm the tourist. Like they are, you know what I mean? Like morning people, they like, and they greet other morning people. They say hello and shit. And I'm usually not one of them. But this morning, a dog came up to me and was just like, mornings, you're doing it. Let me try to wake you up a little bit. And it's a dog that I met before. So it was exciting. I got to pet her because I had the owner's permission. These days, do you think that's a thing that's going to be forever? Like we're always going to ask permission now. I mean, I would kind of like to do it anyway, like just ask permission, make sure it's okay. But I feel like now in these times more than ever, you kind of got to be, hey, is it cool if I pet your dog? Just because if people are very uncomfortable about germs or they're just very uncomfortable about what's going on in the world at large, which is understandable. Like you have to be respectful of that. and not pet their animal unless they're okay with you petting their animal?
I think it's appropriate to ask. Unfortunately, I always forget to because I'm like, "Hi, baby," and then the dogs just come up and try to hump me. So I should ask, but it's like I'm like dog, and I just like I get excited. So, but
Totally.
technically, you should ask because maybe it's a biter and you don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not really the dog, but it could be on a short leash, and maybe the owner is like, COVID. So
Sure.
yeah, we definitely should ask.
I always try to ask. And sometimes, like, if I'm just like jogging or something, then I won't I'll just smile at the dog because I don't want to give the vibe that I'm afraid or that I don't want the dog's attention. It's usually I want your dog's attention so badly, but I don't want to assume I'm allowed to pet the dog, nor do I want to, infringe on what you're doing, like your walk with the dog while I'm doing my thing. But yeah, in this case, I did ask. I said, "Hey, is it cool?" And the owner said, "Yeah." And then I greeted all the morning people. And I actually I said, "Hello, fellow morning people." That's how they knew I was a phony. That's how they were like, "We're not gonna see you again. This is and until you have another 7 a.m. obligation, we're not gonna see you ever again." It's like, that's right, you will not. But good morning for today. There is something special about the ocean in the morning. It is a special thing.
I would not know, but I do
Oh,
like the
you didn't wake up in
sunset.
any morning?
What's that?
You didn't see any mornings in Ocean City?
Oh, hell no.
Nice. You're like, "It's vacation. I'm not waking
It's,
up."
if I'm up before noon, I mean, I stay up till like 2 a.m. every day. I can't sleep. So my mind has too many tabs open, and I'm like, I need to sleep, but I just keep like, ooh, what about this? And then you think about like things that happened in first grade when you were like embarrassed.
Aw.
You just start thinking about the most random shit.
What'd you do in first grade that was so embarrassing?
I have an identical
Did
twin
you have a
sister.
Oh, you do?
I do.
I didn't know that.
You
Wow.
didn't know that?
No, you never told me
I
that.
do. Yeah, and
Alright.
we used to like switch in classes and stuff. And the one time I got caught in first grade and I got in so much shit.
Ooh, I can imagine. Alright. That's just like doing something bad and getting caught. I don't know if that's well, I guess that can be embarrassing, right? I mean,
It was embarrassing because they called my parents and they were like, you shouldn't do this. But then cut to like middle school when I used to call boys I liked and pretend to be hurt and be like, hey, this is Teresa. What do you think about Joy? And then I got to hear
oh.
what they really thought about me for myself. And if they were like, no, then I just dropped it. But if they were like, yeah, she's cute, I'd be like, okay, let me have her call you. And then like,
And they
I
never
know
picked
they
up they
call
never
right
picked up
away.
on what was going on. They never picked up on that?
No, hell no. Our voices are like audio doppelgangers. Like
Oh,
there's my parents don't even know. I have to call and say, hey, it's Joy.
that's interesting. I would think someone would have picked up on that to be like, "Joy, I think it's you." But let's make this official. I have a lifesaver ring for you, or whatever they were, whatever people were doing in middle school. So let's get to the news, like we do. This is this is something. Joe Biden not doing anything about student loan debt. Shocker. I know,
I could fall off the floor.
right? I mean, he's not doing anything about it. We're all shocked. Who saw it coming? And the best part is all the excuses that people are making for him already. Let's go to this one in particular. This is from Forbes. So here, we'll scroll up. Let me scroll up. Don't expect any student loan cancellation. Fair. All right. So student loans. In the ongoing debate over wide-scale student loan cancellation, it's unlikely Biden will unilaterally cancel student loan debt through an executive order without further authorization from Congress. Impossible? No. Unlikely? Yes. Then he talks about how Biden asked the U.S. Department of Education to review his legal authority. All right. So here's the reasons that they're saying Biden won't cancel student loan debt. Number one, student loan debt cancellation originated with progressives, not with Biden. So it originated with Bernie Sanders, which, by the way, this paragraph can be summarized, and this reason can be summarized as Joe Biden doesn't want to cancel student loan debt. Reason number two, Biden never said he would enact student loan debt cancellation. This is a fun one. There have been recent declarations about Biden breaking his campaign promise to cancel student loan debt. However, Biden never said he would cancel student loan debt. Rather, Biden said he supports $10,000 of student loan forgiveness for borrowers in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. So Biden never said he would cancel student loan debt, except when he said he would.
Right.
Well, he never said what he said. Actually, we're going to use a different word here. We're going to swap out words. This is running cover for Joe Biden. That's what this article is. And by the way, this point number two can be summarized as Joe Biden doesn't want to cancel student loan debt. Number three, Congress is blaming Biden for not canceling student loans, but Congress hasn't canceled student loans. So they're playing the blame game. In other words, he doesn't want to cancel student loan debt, and neither does the Congress or the Senate. And by the way, the House and Senate both controlled by Democrats. Will your student loans get canceled? Biden dropped student loan debt cancellation from his new budget. And so here's the other thing. It is unlikely the Education Department will say that for many reasons, that being that he'll have the legal support to act through an executive order to cancel student loan debt, including in January. For many reasons, including in January, the Education Department during the Trump administration concluded the president cannot cancel student loans unilaterally without Congress. So basically, it's pretty much a guarantee he could cancel student loan debt. He may need Congress, but again, the Democrats got it. So really, this could have just been one headline that said, Joe Biden's not going to cancel student loan debt because he doesn't want to. Sorry, suckers. That could have been it. And instead, there's all this flowery language saying like, well, technically, he didn't say, he said forgiveness. And it wasn't his idea. And it wasn't, he might need Congress or he might not. But here's what the Education Department concluded in the past. He could do it. He could do it.
Absolutely.
It's remarkable. And he's not doing it. No $15 an hour minimum wage, a blatantly insufficient infrastructure package that was even less than he promised on the campaign trail, no student loan debt forgiveness. And we're supposed to entertain this fantasy that it's not on him.
Absolutely. And that's why I think they're totally cool with, if not excited about, the Dems losing in 2022. They're finding that there is literally no way to blame anyone else. Like they have the majority. They should be doing it. They can't deflect right now and be like, well, Republicans, nope, can't do that. They want the Republicans to be the majority so they can, it's good for donations. It's good for excuses. I worked in for the state Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in student loan debt for a few years. And I used to take calls, and I can't tell you how many kids and parents called just absolutely sobbing. Like, I don't know what to do. And the thing that infuriates me is, yes, I support everything should be forgiven. End of story. And college should be free. However, what really infuriates me is at the very least, they don't take off the interest. I dealt with kids who took out $10,000 and now it's at $30,000 because every single month that 8% capitalizes. And then the interest goes on top of that, and so on and so on and so on. So at the very, very least, stop the interest and take the interest off. You know, I had people in med school who had $500,000 It's student loan debt because they took out 200,000 and now it's at 500,000. And it's like nobody even talks about the damn interest. Even that would be helpful, even though we should get rid of it all. Now, people like Miss Warren, who campaigned on up to $50,000 per household, and it was means tested by income of your parents, is now coming out, oh, we need student loan forgiveness. Just last year, that wasn't your policy. You're coming out and saying it because you know it's not going to happen. Chuck freaking Schumer. Oh, student loan debt. Fucker, listen, you don't want that. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, they say things when it's convenient, and they think that we're none the wiser. And that's why I am so exhausted by what I like to refer to as the Ministry of Appeasement, which is all of their platitude bullshit on Twitter. And it's all of them, by the way. It is all of them. Every single one, no one excluded. I don't follow any politicians on Twitter. And I know that's like, who gives a shit, Ron? And I get that. But if every single politician had 0 followers, that'd be a message. That would be a message that, like, we're seeing through your bullshit. We're tired of it. We're tired of your platitudes. Your tweets are not helping anybody. What would this thing I'm not actually going to fight for do for you and your family? You know what it would do for me and my family. Tell me how you're fighting for it, and then actually frickin' do it. But you're not actually fighting for it. You're just tweeting. One of the first lessons my mom taught me was actions speak louder than words. That's really true in life, and that's extra true if you're a politician. Because if you're a politician, you're guilty until proven guilty. And I'm fucking done. Like, I am done. And this is just more of the bullshit. They back clean up for someone like Joe Biden. I mean, just look at this. Just look at this slap in the face. Don't expect any student loan cancellation. And his just stupid, brain dead face staring back at you with that purchased smile that has just spewed absolute garbage for 50 years. He is a walking garbage disposal. That is what he is. He is human garbage. And I'm so over all of it. I am so over all of it.
I'm so glad I didn't vote for him pretty much every single day. Not to shame anyone who did, but my conscience is so incredibly clean.
Mine's not. I mean, and I didn't vote for Biden either. I mean, I didn't vote for him, but he's president. I mean, he's president. And I don't blame people who did, because the system put us in a situation where one of these two plutocratic monsters was going to be president, Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And I didn't vote for either one of them. I voted third party. And I did so knowing there was no chance of that happening. You know, I mean, I knew that, and I can't even smile about that system anymore. It's not, and I tweeted something about this recently, and I got a lot of hate for it. And, you know, I had some back and forth with people. And it's like, look, I guess for some people it's good enough to just feel a little okay after you get out of a voting booth. For me, it's not. For me, I want to win. And hey, and maybe it's like the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in me, but like one of the first lessons you're taught if you grow up in that town, you don't polish a turd that is a loss. You don't put a bow on a loss. You call a loss a loss. And politically, I've lost forever, for as long as I've been alive. Because the last time the left had a real big victory in this country, I wasn't alive. It was arguably the New Deal. One could argue it was potentially when we ended the Vietnam War. I wasn't alive for either one of those things. So I've never experienced a victory. I don't know what that feels like. Neither do you. So I'm tired of losing.
The Eugene Debs theory though. I'd rather vote for what I want and not get it than vote for what I don't want and get it.
Oh, me
It's a
too.
personal decision.
Oh,
I
totally.
I couldn't care less if anyone voted for Biden. I don't vote
Right.
shame. And I don't appreciate when leftists are like, you're garbage if you voted for him. It's a personal decision and it's none of my business, quite frankly. But personally, I knew I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I voted for Hillary or Biden. I just, I don't know. I would lose so much respect for myself. And that's just me.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong or anything like that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I'm the same as you, where it's like, look, I don't vote shame because I blame the system, not the people who are dealing with it. Now, if somebody comes at me because I didn't vote for Biden, I'll hold my own. I'll, have a discussion with that person and I'll stand up for myself. But, the problem is not the people who are dealing with this utterly disgusting system. The problem is the system. So yeah, I totally get that. It's just for me, it's like, look, I can't, when people are just like, I just feel so great because I went in that voting booth and I voted against the duopoly. And it's like, yeah, but don't you want to actually beat the duopoly? Isn't that like shouldn't we be pushing for more than just thank you so much for giving me this ballot line so I don't have to vote for these, ugly, disgusting candidates? Don't you want to also win? We're trying to win, right? We're trying to win. Okay, so maybe people who are politically aligned with you, who maybe just made the strategic decision to go for Biden to prevent Trump, maybe alienating all of those people isn't a good idea. Maybe that's not how we win. Like maybe that's a bad, hey, I voted third party and I feel good about it. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure nobody else does. I don't want our tent to get bigger. I don't want, it's like when you're 12 years old and you don't want everybody to know about the band you like because you want to feel cool. That's okay when you're fucking 12. That's okay when you're 12 years old and you're, you haven't matured yet. But when you grow up, you realize, hey, actually, if I want to see this band succeed, I should get my friends to listen to them. I should what, I want more people to make the decision I made. I want more people to say I'm voting against the duopoly. I want more of that, not less of that. I want more. So if somebody has all the same political leanings as me, they held their nose and they voted for Joe Biden because, they knew the other option was Trump and they made a strategic decision different than mine. I don't want to sit there and call them a piece of shit. I want to try to get them to align with me. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Absolutely. And in that respect, I really do wish more leftists were pushing ranked choice voting, because as much as millions of us want a third party or People's Party or whatever you support, it is literally not going to happen without ranked choice voting. It's not. We have history to prove that. So that is the first step. But unfortunately,
let me
I
get
just
Biden's
don't see people. What's that?
I was just saying, I was just like, hold on, let me get Biden's ridiculous face off the screen. It doesn't need to be there anymore. I made the point. It was still just sitting there. People were probably like,
I can't see it, so I have that advantage.
We don't need Biden's ridiculous face anymore. Jesus.
He looks like a ventriloquist, honestly. And I'm not like, I'm not one to like say things about aesthetics, but when I look at him, I see like a ventriloquist smile.
When I look at him, I see a complete blank suit who is void of feeling any empathy for human beings. And that's accurate. So I'll say that about the guy. As he said, yeah, I have no empathy. That's like one of his most famous quotes, really. So I just, yeah, the 2020 election was the complete embodiment of everything wrong with United States politics in two people. And I mean, you have Trump, who's just basically, I'm a plutocrat. The rules don't apply to me. I can do whatever I want. And And then you have Biden. I'm a blank suit who plays the game, enriches myself, and everyone else be damned. That's American politics in a nutshell. That's it. It's not a system that can be saved, nor is it worth saving.
Right. Absolutely. Do you think that we'll see a third party president in our lifetime?
I don't know. I mean, I hope so. But I mean, if I'm being honest, I think that we have a chance to kind of break up the duopoly some. And I think we have to try. I mean, the alternative is not trying. So we certainly have to try. With things like ranked choice voting, it is not an impossibility. Is it a tall glass of water? Absolutely. But it's not impossible. Will we ever see a president? I mean, because a president would mean like the status quo has been completely shattered. So I certainly hope so. I don't think it's impossible. I wouldn't place money on it, but I certainly hope so. I mean, if we break up the duopoly, the game will change, and you'll either see the Democrats cease to exist, which would be fine, or you'll see the Democrats actually become a centrist party, which would be fine. And when I say become a centrist party, I mean in the space of the world standard, because right now they are a right-wing party. So you would either see the Democrats, like you would either see like a real faction on the left electorally. So the Democrats would have to go more towards the center just to have any kind of political identity, which would be fine if we have like a, 3 or 4 or 5 party system and you have an actual centrist party that is in fact a centrist party. Cool. That's fine. I probably won't vote for them, but that's cool that they're there. That's fine. And then you have a right-wing party for whoever wants to vote that way. And then that's how a society works. Or they'll just cease to exist. And there will actually be like a new grassroots party that just overtakes them. So
I think the thing that makes me trepidatious about that is so many people who feel that way are convinced that we can so-called change the Democratic Party. It's not even Democratic, it's Democrat Party. And from the inside, and that ain't working. So that's what makes me, trepidatious. If literally every single progressive and leftist left the Dem Party, and, of course, re-enter when you vote if you need to or want to or whatever. But if everyone Dem exited and said, look, we will not support you, vote for you, whatever, and use that to our advantage and kind of held that hostage, I feel like that's the only thing that would even have a chance of changing.
Sure. Well, you know what? Everybody I know who is more like Dementer, and again, I don't think that they're necessarily right or wrong. I mean, we're both just making a strategic judgment call. Like, I mean, who knows like who's going to be right, who's going to be wrong. You just make a strategic judgment call and you work towards it. And, I certainly don't begrudge people who have different strategic ideas than me. But, even like the more we got to take over the Democratic Party folks, they pretty much all say we need an inside-outside approach. So my response to them is always like, okay, well, I'm part of that outside approach. Like I'm like, do your thing. And if you end up being right, great. I mean, if we have like if we have progressive representation in our politics, I don't care how we get there. And I don't care if I end up being wrong. I'll just be, if we have Medicare for all, I don't care if I was the most wrong person out there. And you can, if you want to shit on me on Twitter because of it, go ahead. And I'll be like, yep, I guess I was wrong, but we have Medicare for all and we ended the wars. My joy of that certainly is more important than my ego, which, who gives a shit? So, but either way, it's like, okay, if you end up being right, I was part of that outside approach. You say it's an inside outside thing. I want to be on the outside. I don't want to be inside. I'm not good on the inside. I'm not meant to be on the inside. I'm meant to be on the outside. So that's where I want to be. And that's why I do advocate for things like third-party politics. Even if you don't think a third party will be viable, it still needs to be there. There are many criticisms of the Green Party that are valid. I have my criticism of the Green Party. They've done a lot of things that I've not approved of. They've done a lot of things I have approved of. And they don't get the credit they deserve for what they've done for a Green New Deal. They really started pushing that. It's their policy. They really brought it to the table. And then, of course, it was amplified by Bernie Sanders, AOC. But the Green Party really started that. And the Green Party really started the push for ranked choice voting. And they've done a lot for it. Those are two things. I'm not saying they deserve the credit single-handedly. They don't. But they've done a lot for it that often goes under-recognized. So third parties, whether you think they will one day be viable enough to overtake the duopoly or not, are still infinitely important and essential if you want status quo shifting change. So, to the Dem-Eder people, I just say, okay, I'm part of the outside approach. I'm one of those outside people. So if y'all get in and this does happen, I don't think it will. But if it does, I'll be the first to say I was wrong, and I'm still your outside guy. If it ends up totally not working and a third party becomes viable, come on and join the third party. Either way, we're on the same team here. That's what I think. But yeah. I know that doesn't score you Twitter points, though. I know that's not cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we got off on all this. But
oh, it was my fault because I asked if you thought one would ever be president.
Well, do you think a third party person could ever be president?
Not in my lifetime.
Wow. Okay.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's feasible. And this is absolutely no way to make Bernie a martyr or anything like that. But I feel like given his popularity when he was running and his making, Medicare for all and things like that a household term, and, creating millions of activists and changing politics forever, whether you like him or not, he is our roots in a lot of ways. The fact that he ran as a Dem the second time when we already had that exposure and people already knew who he was and everything, I feel like he could have done just as well as an independent, and he wouldn't have to worry about anything until the actual general. And I think if someone does win third party, it probably will be independent because we are the biggest voting bloc. We're 43% of registered voters. So I think independent would be, well, we're the majority of third party. So I think if it's feasible, it would likely be Indy.
I think you're absolutely right. And yeah, I mean, I wish he would have run as an independent. And Bernie is, I mean, you got to look at that. And again, there was a lot of things that Bernie did on the campaign trail that I was not thrilled about. There's a lot of strategic decisions he made that I was beyond let down by. But regardless, when someone like a Bernie Sanders makes it to that point, it's by accident. And when I say that, I mean the establishment didn't put the brakes on somewhere where they needed to. They don't want a Bernie Sanders to get that far. They just don't. The DNC admitted that. They admitted that beating Bernie was more important than if they even beat Trump. They admitted it. So they don't want us to have an FDR-style presidency. They don't want us to have a transformational presidency, which Bernie, even with his flaws, would have been a transformational presidency, would have been the most transformational presidency most people have ever seen in their, well, pretty much all people have. I mean, unless, I guess with exception to some people who might still be alive that were alive during FDR, right? And if they are, they were infants. So like pretty much anyone's lifetime, he'd be a transformational president. And they don't want that to happen, the Democrats. So it's like, I don't see a presidency like that ever happening through the Democratic Party because they'll do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't. And if they can stop Bernie, when you look at the stadiums he was filling up, well, who can't they stop?
We had over 1 million volunteers. Over 1 million volunteers. That is insane. Like, absolutely insane. When I went to Iowa for 5 weeks to volunteer, I met people from Africa, Australia, England. I met people from all over the world who came to volunteer for him. Like, if someone like that can't do it, I just don't know. I really just don't know.
Well, and it's going to be a long time before someone makes it that far again. I mean, at least I think so. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm sincerely wrong. I hope in 2024 a freaking miracle happens. But I mean,
nah, that'll be Kamala all the way.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
I see her. Okay, mark my words, and I'm gonna get so much shit for this. But after Taco Tuesday, I really think AOC Buttigieg are gonna run. Maybe 2028.
As a joint ticket?
I really could see that.
Oh God! Oh,
and I'm
my
not
God.
the only one. But when you're doing Taco Tuesday together and stuff, no, I'm sorry. I
didn't know they served
totally
tacos at a wine cave. I didn't know that was. I was surprised. I was like, I didn't know they had tacos at the wine cave. Oh, that's so gross. But
I could totally see that. Just, I hope I'm wrong. But
I hope you're wrong too.
Her moves consistently to the right lately. There's something in it. I don't know if she's going to run for Pelosi's seat next time. I don't know why, but all of a sudden she's pretty damn shit libby. So there's something going on.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's going to be 2028 or maybe even, I don't know. Yeah, 2024 is not likely, I guess. There's likely
Nah, because that would be Kamala would run again for sure, even though Biden will be like.
Yeah, Biden's not going to seek a second term, I don't think. But
I don't think he's going to last another year, to be honest.
I think he's going to make it through, but wow, what a time. What a freaking time. So I want to go here next. This was interesting to me. So Emily Wilder, I believe is the journalist who was fired from the AP. And why was she fired from the AP? Well, she was fired from the AP because she had stood up for Palestinian rights when she was in college. And there was this big smear campaign against her, bringing up those tweets. So the AP fired her. And they fired her shortly after Israel's government bombed one of their buildings. So that's interesting. But on Democracy Now! Today, they interviewed Emily Wilder. They interviewed her. And there's a couple interesting things in here that I really wanted to talk about. So here's the first thing that I wanted to bring up. So Juan Gonzalez asked her, Emily, when you were originally hired, what were you told by the Associated Press of what its social media policy was for its reporters? Emily answers, I was told that reporters must not share opinions online, must not show bias in coverage. So let's stop there. Reporters. Now, I think that our attitude towards journalism in this country on the corporate level is completely ridiculous. The AP, which is huge, has a policy that reporters can't share opinions online and must not show bias in coverage. Now, I understand that if you're doing an investigation, you have to be objective and you have to be as I mean, obviously everyone has a bias. It's humanly impossible not to, but you have to be as open-minded and clear-headed as you can be and just be committed to uncovering the truth, whatever it is. But the problem is it's taken to this extreme place in our journalism where it becomes an excuse for neutrality, where it becomes an excuse to just say, like, well, I don't know, climate change, is it a problem or isn't it a problem? I don't know, because there's a creationist on one side and a scientist on the other, and I gotta not be biased. And that's absolutely ridiculous. And gee, I wonder if the fact that oil and gas companies advertise on these networks have anything to do with this neutrality. So I think that policy there, without any type of context whatsoever, is absolutely ridiculous. You want somebody to dwell in news and politics and do reporting and do investigation and create news, yet they're not supposed to have a take on anything. That's absurd.
So you
What
can
do
be
you
like,
think?
the Palestinians are being bombed, and that's awful. You're fired.
Right. I mean, well, and that's kind of what happened here. So I think right there, that's just a bit like, do you think that's unreasonable?
Hell yes. Well, I don't know how to not share my opinion, first of all.
Sure.
I wouldn't last a day. But yeah, and I mean, you're talking about it online. So technically, she is talking as herself online. That should be distinguished.
Well, and in so many other outlets, they do stuff like that where you just have a little disclaimer where you're like, opinions are my own, or you have
Absolutely.
like a reporting account and your personal account. And again, I'm not saying that objectivity is always bad. Of course it isn't. Again, if you are covering a protest or a strike, or you're just doing an investigation, yeah, you should just be committed to the truth and nothing else. And you should have no other dog in the fight. That is where that mindset is appropriate. But to go as far as to say, well, you can't have any opinion, you can't have any perspective, you can't come to a reasonable conclusion based on what you found and publish that, that's when you're entering this realm of ridiculousness. And it's usually at the behest of the corporatocracy who owns you. And that's certainly the case for the AP.
Absolutely.
So here's the second part that I wanted to highlight. So now they interview one of her colleagues, and so here's the other part in her dismissal letter that her colleague brings up. So there was one tweet that mentioned a mild opinion about the question of objectivity on reporting on the conflict in the language you use. And an editor could have come to her and said, I think you should take down that tweet because it expresses an opinion in violation of our social media policies. Doesn't mean you can't have these opinions, but you can't broadcast them on social media. But I think that the bigger issue in this case, if you read the letter of her dismissal, was it mentions you cannot have any conflict that could be perceived as a bias or leading to accusations of bias. And so when the Stanford College Republicans documented some of her pro-Palestinian activism in college, I think they, and I think she's referring to the AP here, got a little spooked because it was in the context. So basically, they're saying if you've ever taken a stand for something, we shouldn't hire you. That's perceived as bias. So really, in one of the most powerful outlets when it comes to journalism in the United States, if you stood up for Palestinian rights in college, that might be a deterrent. They might not want to hire you. If you were a climate activist, they might not want to hire you. And it goes on both sides too. I mean, maybe there's a more right-leaning cause that you're passionate about for whatever reason. That's a deterrent to hire you, apparently. And I don't know. I would actually want people who give a shit about the world around them and give a shit enough to do something about it, even if I disagree with their perspective, whether I agree or not. I would still want those types of people who are engaged to be going into journalism. They basically have a system set up so that becoming a stenographer is required for the job. And maybe that's why they have a bunch of stenographers doing the job.
I think, I kind of want to look at the AP and see if they've made any donations to AIPAC or something like that.
Well, I mean, they're definitely all, yeah, I mean, there's definitely all kinds of ties there because it's like, I mean, we, the weapon sales and stuff like that, and our government and Israel's government. And so all those conflicts of interest are there, but it's just incredible to me that these are their actual policies and people accept that. Hey, did you give a shit about a civic cause in college? That's a deterrent. We might not hire you. That's bad. That's bad.
Something tells me if you replace Palestine with Israel, they wouldn't care as much because the Republicans wouldn't have searched for it and reported it and everything like that, and she'd still have her job.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's likely. I think it's fair to say that that's definitely likely. But wow, it's just so. I mean, sometimes when you just see it slapping you in the face, you're like, this is. I mean, just imagine the next jobs fair. Like, hey, you want to get into journalism? Yeah. Why do you want to get into journalism? Well, because I give a shit about things, and I was active in all these social organizations. Ooh, that's actually a deterrent. Well, wait, what social organizations? Were you part of the More Gasoline, Please, and Weapons Are Sexy organization? Were you cheering on the Iraq War? No, I was actually I was part of a climate activist group. Oh yeah. Don't bother submitting your application. Oh, Palestinian rights. No, get away. We already had to fire someone. Like it's remarkable. Like it really is remarkable that they're just this unapologetic about it.
Incredible. Is she is she being, outspoken and was it an interview on Democracy Now?
Yeah, she was interviewed and
Oh,
her
awesome.
colleague was interviewed as well. So I mean, it's I don't know what kind of coverage she's getting from the corporate media, if any. I mean, I know like some people in the independent space are talking to her, Democracy Now being one of them. And yeah, I heard the interview this morning, and those two particular spots, I was like, are you kidding me? That's an actual policy? Wait, are you kidding me? They're saying anything that could be perceived as bias, any potential conflict that exists. So basically, give a shit about something, journalism's not for you. Not in the United States. That's the opposite of the way it should be. That would be like, hey, do you want to play in the NFL? Oh, you played football in college? No, we don't want you. You might have a bias to being good at this. We want the person who's never played before. That's literally that's the journalistic standards of our media. People wouldn't tolerate that in a sporting match, by the way. If it was just a bunch of amateur people, well, actually, that might be entertaining, but it might be kind of entertaining, but probably not. And we wouldn't tolerate that in the sports world. But we have that low of a bar for journalism, and people accept it as okay. People accept the fact that corporations run our media. They accept that. They're okay with that. They're okay that news is dictated by Rupert Murdoch, Time Warner, and Comcast. They see no conflict of interest there. They see no problem with that. They think that it's better than, quote, state-run media. Ooh, like let corporations take over instead of letting people have a say in their own media structure. Isn't that great? And I'm not saying that there aren't state media that isn't corrupt to the gill. Of course there is. But you know what else is state media? Canada, Norway, England, all places that, while they have their flaws, have way higher press freedom rankings than we do, and deservedly so. And it's because they didn't hand their media structure over to a bunch of corporations. Or, excuse me, not a bunch, a small handful of corporations.
Yeah. Thanks to Bill.
Yeah, right? Good old Billy boy. Oh, that was I think we've actually had this conversation before with each other.
I think so, yeah.
But it's so funny. I remember one time I was, there was this hardcore Hillary supporter, and this was back in 2016. And they were just going on and on and on and on about the media is so hard on Hillary and this and that. And the media is so hard on Hillary and the media is so hard on Hillary and the media is so hard on Hillary. And I just said, well, I bet it's awkward at night for Hillary and Bill then, since he made this media possible. That's so hard on her. And their eyes just rolled in the back of their heads because they had no idea how to respond to that.
You're sexist.
That was probably their go-to response later. They're like, I should have
said, misogynist.
But I blame Bill. I blame Bill. How can and rightfully so. He was president when that happened, not Hillary.
I mean, he's a rapist and all, and but no biggie. I mean, yes, queen, all good.
So I want to close with this today. Today is the 1 year anniversary of George Floyd. And, you know this, I know this. And I want to share this tweet from the People's City Council. I'll read it to you, Joy. This is the People's City Council here in LA. So Mitch O'Farrell, for a quick refresher, I don't want to get like too hyper local here, but we had an event called Echo Park Rising here in Los Angeles where they were trying to brutalize the houseless community in Echo Park, and a bunch of people came to try to stop that from happening. And the police basically brutalized all the people there and did the sweep in Echo Park Lake anyway. And Mitch O'Farrell was was the member of City Council that oversaw all this. He oversaw all of this. People are calling on him to resign. Of course, he's not going to, but he oversaw all this along with the mayor and the LAPD, and they are all completely out of control, and none of them should have their jobs. But anyway, he tweeted, 1 year ago today, the whole world watched the horror unfolding in Minneapolis as George Floyd's life was brutally stolen from him in an excruciating 9 minutes and 29 seconds. People's City Council responds, excited for elected officials in Los Angeles to make hollow statements about George Floyd while they vote to approve a budget that gives $3 billion to the LAPD. Fuck off. Well said, People's City Council. And so, Joy, my question, have we made any progress here? It's been a year since one of many murders by the police force, and but the George Floyd murder, which I guess in a couple weeks we should be hearing what kind of sentence is going to be dished out. But
yeah, I mean, I truly don't think we have made progress. People like to cite the George Floyd bill, the legislation that passed. However, I've actually read it, and it calls on more police. It calls on higher budget to employ more freaking police. So I suggest everyone read it. It is not a victory. It is not. And the fact that they're putting his name on it to just kind of like, convince people that something's being done is pretty gross. And Seattle for a while had some victories, but I know some legislators were pushing back on it and stuff like that. But we still haven't defunded. I don't know if we ever will. Cops are still not being trained as far as how to handle mental health patients. We're still seeing countless Black people and brown people being murdered and brutalized. We've still seen how many people, just completely brutalized by protesting what happened to George Floyd. I'm not seeing any progress. I mean, I'm just not. I mean, I don't know 100% of what's going on in each city, but
right.
Overall, I don't think shit's been done. I know when, the verdict came out and it was like, we have victory. Not to me. I want to see what the hell his sentence is. I'm not excited. That's step one. Step one was being found guilty. Now what's his sentence going to be? Is it going to be probation? Is it going to be 2 years? What's it going to be? That's when I'm going to find out. And after that, if it is an acceptable sentence, which is hopefully pretty fucking long, I want to see what legislation will in fact come from that.
Right. No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, and I don't want to say that when they read the verdict, I did feel some relief, and I think everyone did, and deservedly so, and that's totally good, and I'm sure there was some relief to the family too, even. But it's okay to say yes, there is some relief here. Yes, there is some reason for joy here, but we still have so far to go, and he has not even been sentenced yet. I mean, it's
Yeah.
totally. I mean, you can't like. You gotta grasp onto those moments of hope, like you really do. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your mind. But
Yeah.
but you also shouldn't overstate it either, where it's like, yes, breathe a sigh of relief, but we still have so far to go. And I'm with you. I mean, I do think there have been some defunding efforts in some pockets of the country, and that's great, but systemically, the rot is still there. And I know where I live in Los Angeles, the police are getting more money. They are getting more, not less, and that's a pretty common story. So yeah, systemically, we are none the wiser. We have made no progress whatsoever, despite historic amounts of civil unrest, which just proves something we already knew. The police just exist to brutalize the working class and regular people, and to uphold the needs of the ruling class. That's what the police are for. They're not here to serve and protect. They are part of a brutal, systemically racist system that was put in place for a reason and cannot be reformed. This can't be reformed. Like maybe, and I don't even know if this is the case or not. Maybe at some point decades ago, reform was a possibility. I don't even know if it ever was. I don't know. I mean, if it was before I was alive. But now that ship has sailed. There's no reason for this system to exist the way it does. No reason. I mean, just the job of a police officer is so ridiculous when you break it down. What that job really entails, you're sending someone who is grossly undertrained and handling nearly every situation, was incredibly poorly screened, maybe a member of a gang, maybe a member of a white supremacist group. That all happens on the regular because white supremacist groups have been infiltrating the cops for decades on purpose because they know they're given a badge and a gun and impunity. So, and they show up to situations with, again, a badge and a gun. And in most cases, very horrible intentions. And if they don't have those very horrible intentions, usually they get weeded out pretty freaking quick. That's the
Yeah.
police.
I do want to clarify. I didn't mean mental health. My mental health comment per George Floyd. I was talking about two other cases, but
Mm-hmm.
you're absolutely correct. And I think one of the things we have to keep in mind is, even though Chauvin was found guilty, there are four other cops who watched it, who protected him, who held off people, who said, check his pulse and things like that. Why aren't they in jail? Because
Yeah.
of our system. They are just as guilty. So we
Yeah.
can't act like this is a huge victory. And then also, my concern is, we're seeing a lot of Republicans saying, don't say that nothing happens to cops when they kill black people, because look at Chauvin. So that one instance is being used for rationalization of, well, but Chauvin was found guilty, so you know what I mean. So there are
No, no,
definitely
no. I
some.
totally know what you mean. The one
Yeah.
thing, the one thing that's the other side of that coin, and I know we've had like this discussion before too, is this is the first time in recent history where the public outrage towards him was still very much burning strong when the trial happened. That usually by design is not the case. They wait out the clock. They say, oh, the wheels of justice turn slow, except when we don't want them to. But here we want them to, because we want you to forget about this before it goes to trial. This is the first time they weren't able to pull that off. And hopefully it becomes the way it always happens. I mean, well, hopefully, you don't have police systemically murdering black people. That would be that's what we want. But but you'd rather have the wheels of justice turn in a way where it's like, okay, the public outcry is still where it needs to be when this person goes on trial. And that's the one, the one reassuring thing, or not reassuring, but the one kind of reason for optimism with that whole thing was that, yes, the public outcry was still burning when he went on trial. that needs to be the norm. That should always be the way it is. That shouldn't be the exception. That should be the rule, always, forever.
Absolutely.
Oh man, what a time, huh? This is we started talking about you going to the beach and we ended with you know, a corrupt, irredeemable system on multiple levels, be it in policing and in politics. Good thing there's good rum drinks in Ocean City, right? Or we
Yes.
I'm going to go over to the Rockfin chat for a minute here. Aspen Fallon, what's up? Thank you so much for the Rockfin tip. Thank you, Joy, for pointing out that the Dems are trying to lose. It's so obvious. Also, your points on student loan debt and interest is spot on. I agree. Thank you, Joy. And thank you, Aspen Fallon, for your super chat contribution. Yeah, I mean, it's so their first priority, the Democrats, first priority, uphold what the donors want. Second priority, if we can beat a Republican while doing priority number one, great. If not, no big deal. Gravy train keeps a rolling. We can reform this. This is reformable. Cool story. Wow. Thank you, Aspen Fallen. And then Corey, what's up, Corey? How are you? I hope everything is well. The Associated Press published, say that 5 times, press published that black and white photo of Biden leering at a little girl's chest in the 70s. Post Telecommunications Act, you would never see that. Interesting. I don't know if I'm familiar with that photo.
I didn't realize they're the ones who publish it. You don't want to see it.
I'm sure I don't. I don't know if I have. I don't think I have.
You'd remember it. It
okay,
is.
Then I haven't.
Woo.
It's gross.
I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
Really? Okay, so it's how? I mean, do I want to even know the answer to this? How old is the? I mean, are we talking like an 18 plus? Or
no. Like maybe 6. And he's like crouching.
Oh God.
And like looking at her. Oh my God.
That's horrific. I've not seen this photo, and I don't want to. Ever.
Yeah, don't.
Wow. Okay, so they published that, and Corey's saying that in a post Telecommunications Act, you would never see that. Yeah, probably not. Probably not, because Telecommunications Act completely homogenized our media, and it's just owned by a handful of corporations now. Not that there wasn't those issues even before the Telecommunications Act, but the Telecommunications Act put it all on steroids, big time. Wow. So thank you, Corey. Thank you, Aspen Fallen. Thank you so much for your super chat or your Rockfin tip contributions. Joy, where can everyone go to learn more about you?
My Twitter is at SavageJoyMarie1. And you can buy my parody book about shit libs at savageandpat.com. I co-wrote it with Pat Cody. What's that?
I said it's very funny. I've read it.
Thank you. We love when comedians say it's funny. It's a huge compliment. But I do also want to plug, which Ron is now involved in. I'm so excited. We are doing a Medicare for All, a national Medicare for All march. It started with 3 of us in DC, and now is LA, San Francisco, New Mexico, New York, Chicago. I can't even think of all the places, but it's literally across the country now. July 24th, which is a Saturday. They're all going to be on that date. For more info, you can go to M4 ALL.org. So M4all.org. And it has a list of all our cities, and we actually are adding even more. Ron, you'll be speaking at the LA one, right?
Yes. Yeah. LA is home. So yeah, I'll be July 24th. I got it marked down, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't know all the details yet. It's still a minute away, but yeah, they reached out to me and they asked if I'd be willing to to say so. I was like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. Let me know. I mean, I plan on being there. So
we have incredible speakers at every single one, like incredible. So I'm so excited.
Sorry.
I can't believe.
I'm sorry to be the dead weight on that, but I'll do my best.
Everyone was like, can you get Ron? No, everybody wanted you. They were like, do you think he'll do it? I was like, I'll demand he doesn't.
I will make demands. I fell off a stage for him once.
I totally did. Oh, damn it for not having that on video.
I was just, you would just see me with like, should I say something, or would that make it worse if I say anything? Like, what should I do? Like, I was very much probably a quick deer in headlights moment on my part.
Well, Graham Elwood swooped in like freaking Superman and lifted me up, and he's like, are you okay? I was like, holy shit. I don't even think I was on the ground for like a minute.
No, you were good. You were good.
Come here, Joy. It's funny looking back on it.
Yeah, that was still, man, that was such a fun couple nights in Philly.
It was.
Philly's one of those cities where it's like, if you don't have a good time there, there's something wrong with you.
Agree.
Like, if you like, there's a couple of cities where it's like, if you don't have a good time here, you're not doing something right. Like, you're just kind of like, hey, I went to New Orleans, I didn't have a good time. Hey, something's wrong. You went to New Orleans, you didn't have a good time. Something's. And by the way, and I'm not saying you got to, maybe Bourbon Street's not quite your thing. You go to Frenchman, where there's some great music and the locals.
Yes.
So anyway, Joy, check it out, savageandpat.com. Pick up that book, and we'll be in contact about the Medicare for All March on July 24th. And Joy, I will see you on the last Tuesday of next month for that time of the month when you join me here on Get Your News On with Ron. Oh, and I do a new thing now, Joy. I give a shout out to people's pets, and I have a Twitter thread where people have sent pictures of their pets, and I give them a shout out at the end. But if my guest has a pet, then I just shout out their pet. So Duchess says wolf, and Lucy says meow, and Lucy says meow to Duchess, although she's not that great with dogs. But Duchess is her exception. And Joy says peace, and I say peace, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Thanks. Much love, everyone.